As people in my constituency of Birkenhead bear the brunt of this unprecedented crisis, oil and gas companies are set to report near-record profits, with private shareholders cashing in on a soaring wholesale energy prices. And when my honourable friend, the member for Brighton Kemp Town, challenged the Chancellor to put the interests of ordinary people before those of the oil and gas companies this morning, he made it clear whose side he was on, exactly whose side he was on. Today, members opposite have a very simple choice. Either they can insist that the fossil fuel giants step up and accept responsibility for a crisis from which they have profited so handsomely, or they can continue to turn a blind eye to the immense human suffering unfolding not just in my constituency but also in theirs, as they have done throughout this long and bitter winter. Labour is also offering the government the choice to make its failure to prevent this crisis. We know from the Prime Minister's grotesque performance in this House yesterday that the word responsibility is entirely missing from the party's opposite vocabulary. But as recent research by Carbon Brief demonstrates, had successive Conservative governments not taken a wrecking ball to the zero-carbon home standard subsidies for onshore wind and spending on essential energy-efficient measures, household bills would be £2.5 billion cheaper than they are today. But with this very greatest of respect to my good and honourable friends on the front bench, I am convinced that we must be even more muscular in our response to this crisis. At the moment, the energy sector is simply not fit for purpose. Costs to consumers are far too high, investment in green energy is wholly inadequate, and we remain dangerously dependent on volatile foreign energy supplies. And last week, we learned that extraordinary amounts of UK gas were exported abroad in autumn and winter, even as rising costs decimated the standard of living of hard-working families and hit the bottom lines of small businesses. Our energy system must always be put the interests of ordinary people before those of private profits. And confronted with this historic crisis, we must surely accept that public ownership is the only way forward.